We'll get it out of him sometime here.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go back to the vet and sneak some from them, you know. See if we can...
All right. Well, let's put this video on. Good morning, guys. So what this morning, let's kind of talk about basically what we want to, let's let you guys decide what we want to talk about. I'm a ball of words, so anything that we want to go over, we can specifically, Matthew, Mike, you're fairly new. What are areas that you want to talk about that we can get going today, and give me an idea or two, and then we'll let it roll. Normally I just pick something and I roll with it, but since you guys are on, if there's something that's weighing on you that you want me to discuss or try to how to get through something, then let's go ahead and do that. So what have you guys been running into lately or been doing that's been working that might want to talk about or get some more information on?
Well, I'll mention something, and that is that I made a big mistake the other day, and so I've had to learn from that. And that was just to full disclosure. I sold a sliding glass door and compass that I thought I could expand wider than what I actually could. I misread the what was in our iPad, and so I ended up not being able to give the customer what they wanted, and they were upset. And I talked to them last night, so they're fine with it now, even though it's now not going to work. But it just it was me making an assumption, and we know what it means to assume. And so just a word to the wise, which I've had to learn from, and that is that be more sure before you assume something.
So how do you become more sure? What's your tool?
Well, I do a little bit more research ahead of time to make sure that what I think is true is actually true.
Okay. So what is a tool you have at your display in the house that you could check and reference to that you need to work on?
Well, the ADM.
There you
go. And I've got to get more familiar with doing that because I haven't used it much, and that's my issue, not its issue. So.
Okay. That's a big thing working on ADM. Maybe, Mark, that's something you should go over in your training and make sure they're getting comfortable with the ADM, because obviously, as you see here, that's a big mistake that we don't want to make to beat ourselves. So to make sure, again, we're doing, figuring out those little things. Because to be the pro, we got to basically be the basically trusted advisor, not basically fail them on this instance because we didn't have the right information. So costly lesson, cost you, what was that sell that we did the wrong, about $7-8 grand?
Well, it was smaller than that, but they have a whole bunch of other windows. That this was going to be the way the husband's getting the wife to test this, and so he talked her into letting us do the sliding glass door, and then there are many other windows we could have been doing. So it's really the opportunity lost.
Yeah, so we lost a bigger opportunity on that for sure. And that was because we didn't take our time to do our due diligence. So. Remember, you got to get involved with that ADM. Do you know what the only door you can do in 120 inch wide now?
I can only go to 95.5 inches.
Now, in the real doors, which is the contemporary and architect, you can do a 2-panel 120 inch.
Right.
So the cost goes up pretty dramatic. So, but just you got to know your lines and stare at that ADM. Like when you have downtime, fair time, you got to study. That's part of basically to make the big money is you got to walk in the house, and the more you don't have to think about it, again, the more we can focus on what we're trying to accomplish, not trying to worry about if we can or can't. If that makes sense.
Right. Absolutely.
What about you, Matt?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I would say where I, probably could use the most help is, identifying exactly, what, when rolling price, like how to transition from, you kind of went over it the other day a little bit, but kind of transitioning from the different finance options, and then really knowing, all that's available. Since I know a lot of what's up, up there isn't available. So that's.
What do you mean by not available? I guess I'm a little confused by that.
Well, like the 36 months, same as cash, whatever, that's not available, right? But it's an option, right?
Yep.
So I would say, knowing the most current, financing options, what's available, how to identify that, and then really how to find out, what's going to be the best option for them, I find it awkward, when we're rolling price and we have those different pages that we flip through, that says the savings and all that, like how to just kind of identify what, predetermine what's going to be the best fit for them. And then how to kind of transition to that,
Got it.
If that makes any sense.
Yep. So what I would say, man, on that is, number one, get used to it. Like, so if you work with Mark or come in and work with me or even your peers, you want to have that iPad, right? And I'm gonna put you on mute so I can hear it. But what you want to do is you want to have your iPad, and we want to strategically go through it. And I probably need to spend some time going through with you on this, because to me, this is, drive for show, putt for dough, right? This part of right here is where most deals are lost, and we beat ourselves because we don't handle it correctly. If you got them excited, and remember, you got to get all your commitments that go through. We get our commitments, then we get down to the end of it. It's literally, as we do our transition, so that's where, like, John and Mary, hey, can you see with everything we've done and had to accomplish with basically what's going on with the house, not to mention we found on the inspection, how we find 34,746 is a good value to take care of your project. Then we're letting them hem-haw for a minute, trying to get the yes, trying to get the no aspect. Then we want to take it back down to where we're talking about our discount, right? So, Matt, what you really have to do on that is you have to make sure you sell that coupon being the best one you've ever seen. Even if you've seen it 1,000 other times, remember, this is the first time that they are ever seeing it. So they're going to read your energy right here, and they're going to be reading you to see if it's really that good of a deal or not, right? If you just say, yeah, we're offering a 25% off discount, that saves, $7,436. That takes a total investment down to basically this, right? Then you're not giving the discount. You're not building urgency or excitement around that, right? You have to build that excitement. So guys, hey, you know what? That's 34,746 is what the investment is. This is probably the best one I've ever seen. So it's going to take the project down to, that's basically going to save you $7,436 out the project, take the total investment down to only, $23,746. And what I always say, Matt, right there, is you want to say those numbers, you want to say them as, like, you say the number as like if there's a comma in between it. So if it's 34,746 or 23,746, so at 23,746 is where the pause should go. And then what we want to do is we'll roll down till we get to that payment, right? So, so basically, again, starting over, so that's 34,746. Can you see with everything we have to do, correct the issues and challenge on the house, how we found that a good value, John and Mary? Yes, no, indifferent, whatever. We're trying to get them to admit that that's a good value. Secondly, as basically I roll down, so again, you didn't call me out to pay list price. That's after you that's after you get your commitment. Then we want to roll in and say, okay, so that's going to save you a total of today $7,436, which is probably the best one I've ever seen. Going to take the total project down to only $23,746. Or what more of our savvy customers do is they open an account at 12 months, no interest, no payment, or they go ahead and open an account at basically 60 months at $343 a month or $546 a month, whatever it might be. But man, the first thing you want to do is you want to get them labeled into that. You want to talk about the payment. The payment should be the first and only thing you focus on right through there. And you need to make them tell you that they're not going to pay a payment or that payment's too expensive, because you don't know what page to flip or where to work from if we don't get a yes or no or it's affordable on that payment. And you should always go at that 6.99 for 60 should be the first payment you go at, because again, that's going to get your true serum out, whether it's a yes or no. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
and then, so you go to that first payment method and they go, oh no, okay, that's, you know, that's way too much for me. And then I mean, I would ask them a direct question. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I would then ask them, well, what monthly payment would you like to see, you know?
Okay.
Right.
So let's time out right there, right? You can't just do that because they'll give you some ridiculously low number that you're gonna die on the vine with, right? So you need to give them a range. So at that point, I'm gonna mute you again real quick. At that point, we got to give them a range. We got to go, you know. So John Mary, if that 546 isn't affordable for you, then what is? Is it more like, you know, 350, 400? What were you thinking was more affordable, right? But again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to isolate the objection, right? So one of the things, Matt, I would do before you even gave that range, so it sounds like to me this is something that you want to open an account to pay monthly on. Is that correct? Yes, good. So now basically you've identified the way they're paying. So if I don't identify the way they're paying, then literally I'm trying to solve an ocean still, right? Because I don't know if they're going to pay cash. I don't know if they're going to do a 12 months no interest or they're going to finance it. So again, if I can get them committed to the route they're going to pay, and I don't have to be guessing the entire time, and I can focus on the one thing I need to control, which is a payment. So I'm isolating that down.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we identify the deposit before this?
Not until after you identify how the payment that's affordable. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, if it's 546, what payment would fit in their budget? And like, I don't know, maybe 200. Okay. So if it's 200, that's cool. But I want to give a range before I give the 200, because I know if I give them a range, they're either going to go at one of the range numbers, or if they shoot at 200, now I got a couple things I need to worry about, right? Because if I'm at 546 and 200, that's a pretty good distance away, unless I go to 120 months. So you're talking about, you know, the pages you're talking about right through there. If I want to flip to a different page, then that's going to allow me to basically go to an 84 or 120 month investment, right? And I wouldn't say 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Years are scary. For some reason, months, they don't sink into there, right? Think about car payments. People don't buy on years, they buy on months, right? 60 months, 36 months, you know, 72 months, whatever it might be. So you got to make sure, again, you're not scaring the hell out of them. And before you talk about any payment or any option, use the word only before you do it, because it does something in the psychology world that allows them to feel better about it. So that's only, you know, so we can do this for only basically $546 a month by opening an account for you for 60 months. How does that fit in the budget? They're like, well, it doesn't. Okay. So let me ask you though, if you did a project like this, does it sound like something you would want to pay monthly on, do a monthly budget program? Yeah, we would have to. Great. So it sounds like to me, when you do the project, that's the way you're going to take advantage of it. It's monthly, correct? Good. Now I've identified, right? Now I'm not trying to solve a money issue. I'm trying to solve that. I'm trying to solve that payment issue. And remember, Matt, 65% of what we do is financed. So if 65% of what we do is financed and you're focusing on the 35, which is the cash buyers, that means you're only getting 25 to 30% of your cash buyers rather than 25 to 30% to 65% of our business. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So once we get that isolation and they tell you that 546 too much, then we need to get them a range again, right? So you're thinking more 450, 500. What are you thinking? And you want to leave yourself so you can get there. You want to give that range, right? So you're testing them. You don't know if it's more like 450, 500. And there's some psychology that happens when you change the 5 to a 4 or the 4 to a 3. It doesn't really matter what the back two numbers are. If it's, you know, 471, 450, 423, you know, those numbers really aren't as important as basically the hundreds category, if that makes sense. So if I'm saying at 550 and I say if I can get them down to 515 to 530, that's not going to get them anywhere, right? Or 500 to 515, that's not going to get them where I need to be. I need to be somewhere in the 400s. So let me ask you guys, would 450, 500, would that work for you? And you want to kind of get that range. Because again, we're trying to isolate it down. If you again say, hey, well, what payment would afford for you? How do you know they're not going to say $50? I don't know, man. I really can't afford anything, $50. Then they just got themselves out of it because again, we didn't make sure that they are, we didn't isolate that objection deep enough. And a lot of people aren't going to give you a bullcrap number like that, but some will just because they're playing with you or they're starting to tap out. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Then after you isolate, say they said that $300 is affordable and you're 543, right? So now you got to make a suggestion at 543. All right, can I take it out to longer if I'm at 543, I need to get 300. How am I going to get there is what I need to think in my head first, right? So can I take it out in months, which would work, right? So I could take that if I need to be down to 300, and it's 23 grand. Well, I know at 120 months, if I take 1%, that's going to get me close to basically, that's going to be about 200 and something bucks. So I can easily get there right now without even discounting another dime. I can get to that 200. But the problem is, even though you can do it, you don't want to just go there because you want to give to get. So at this stance, what I need to do is I need to isolate it down. So let me ask you, Matt, if I were able to get to 300, is that what it would take to earn your business today? Is that it? So you want to get them to commit? Yes, that's it. Is that it? Nothing else? Yes. That's it. Nothing else is just a way to isolate it so that way they can't throw anything back out at you again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Too many people in that state, they get nervous and they try to shoot right for it, right? You have to be so comfortable in your skin. That's why we talk about LACAR, which is listen, you pause 4 seconds, acknowledge, which means you thank them for giving it to you. You repeat it back, which means basically make sure that you understand exactly what they're saying. So it sounds like to me, Matt, that if I were able to get to 300, we could go ahead and get your project started. Is that correct? Yep. So that's it. Nothing else. Yes. Great. Let me see what I can do. Then you'll flip it back once you get that commitment, right? Because what they did is they just gave you permission to sell them as long as you can get to that $300 a month. That makes sense so far?
Yep.
Okay. So after we do that, then we turn the iPad back towards us. Let me ask you, Matt, when a lot of people like yourself go ahead and do a project like this, they did set some time aside and you told me you were in the house thinking about doing the project for the last 5 years. How much money did you set aside? What, at least $1,000 or $2,000? And then basically I need to find out how much they set aside for the project. Because remember, a lot of people, when you come in, think they're paying cash, unless it's proximity or events, then basically they don't realize or might not have put anything in the kitty. But again, we need to make sure we're asking that question because that's going to help us get ourselves to that next level. So let me ask you, Matt, how much would you feel comfortable putting forward towards a project? So they say $1,000, right? So what I'll do at that point, I'll put in my deposit $1,000, and then literally, then I'm going to talk about the cost savings program. Remember earlier we shared with you, we had our cost savings program. Remember, it was like that time and efficiency discount we shared with you. And I didn't want to have to give it to you and take it away if you weren't ready to use it. But it sounds like to me, if we were to be able to get that 300, we could earn your business. So I'm pretty comfortable giving it to you. Is that okay if I share that with you? Yes, perfect. Well, if I apply that basically initial visit discount and then literally put in your $1,000 deposit, what we would do, because remember, I've only got one more drop to make. If I make another drop past this drop, I start losing credibility. So again, you got what I call a 2-drop maximum. If you have to do a third one, it better be really small because again, we don't want to make sure we're losing credibility here. So as I hit that, were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was going to say, so you're doing that for the initial, price rollout. You're doing that on retail?
I'm doing that was retail and basically the coupon discount should be setting up on your computer screen.
Okay.
Because what happens if you don't have those two together up there, then it looks like you're hiding something. So they called you off a discount percentage, right? And you don't give that, then you're screwed, because again, you're going to start losing credibility.
Okay.
So again,
the first price rollout is basically the
60-day page. It's your 60-day page.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You know, so not the first one, the second one. I think it's the third page in. That shows list price, basically your coupon discount to 25% off, whatever it might be, and then then it shows what your investment would be, including your cost savings program.
Okay.
Okay. And that's the page you want to roll on. If you roll on any other page, either you're going to have one big fat list price with no payment there, or you're going to have a bunch of like odd and end items that you got to explain more than you need to. The best thing to do is go to that 60 months page and start there, because then it shows their discounts and it shows everything, and it has your first payment setting up right there also. Our whole goal is we want to get down the funnel all the way to the payment. Matt, you are selling the payment, nothing else. Just like going out and buying a car, right? You sell the payment, you don't sell the car. You don't sell the overall investment. The overall investment's built by what we did in the inspection, and then basically building the urgency, the need, and then basically putting together our solution at the end of it. That's where all that stuff makes sense. But again, so when we're dealing with that cost savings program thing at the end of it, that's basically, we're not giving that till we get a commitment that we can move forward, or at least get a commitment for yes or no. I have been in the house before where the guy's like, it depends on what it is. So let me ask you, if I shot something down to you, so if I'm at that and I say, well, if we get close to that 300, is that what it take to earn your business? He goes, yeah, more like 250. Well, let me ask you, if I can get close to that 250 number, was that what it take to earn your business and nothing else? And I said, well, I don't know yet. Let me see what it is. Well, appreciate that, because you don't want to sit there at that point and be bickering back and forth for like 10 minutes and keep asking the same question 10 different ways, because what happens is they're going to move away from it. So it sounds like to me you're just not quite comfortable yet till you see if we can do it. Is that correct? Yeah. So let me ask you, if I showed you something and it wasn't affordable and you couldn't do it, could you tell me no? Yes. And on the other hand, if you did see it and you loved it, you could tell me yes too. Can you do that? Yes. So agreed. At the end of this, you can tell me yes or you can tell me no. Would you agree with that? Yes. Well, then I'm comfortable getting that cost savings program, because he's not going to call me back in a week from now and pay 10% more than he's going to pay today. So I need to make sure, again, I set myself up for the yes or no. You know, maybes and callbacks and all this other stuff. You're going to be chasing your tail till you're blue in the face, and literally it's going to be, you're going to have a month down the road, you might have somebody call you back. You might. But again, that's like holding your breath. You can't guarantee yourself onto that, right? Sometimes you run into conditions where that might happen, but the masses should be handled exactly like this. So after, again, we roll through, John and Mary, take care of the entire project on your house is $34,746. Can you see with everything we have to do, how we on that fair value to take care of the project in your home? Yes. So today, you called in off of the buy one, give one 40%, or the $289 off a window, door, whatever it might be. That's one of the better ones I've seen. But right now we have what we call our anniversary sale, which I don't know how it's still on our computer. But again, I'm able to apply that one for you. If I can save you a little money, you wouldn't be mad at me, would you, Matt? No. So again, this one's the best I've ever seen, guys. Unfortunately, I don't know when this is going to leave, but it's amazing. This is going to save you 25% off straight off the whole project, which is going to be a total of $8,436 off the project. Take your total investment down to only, $23,746. Or more of our savvy customers do open account at 12 months, no interest, basically, or no payments. Or basically they mostly open account at 60 months and take advantage of that at $546 a month. Let me ask you, how does that $546 a month fit in the budget, Matt? And then you shut up. And you let them muster it so that way they can think about it, right? If you go start talking right through there, what happens is you start breaking their train of thought. Right there, a lot of reps get uncomfortable and they start talking. You don't want to talk there. You want to let them muster on that number, that 546. Until they look up and make eye contact at you, you don't say a damn word. Because what happens is if you do it, you're breaking their train of thought. They could be running numbers in their head to see if that is affordable and going from left brain to right brain and back to left brain before they ask you something. If you stop them in that mid thought, you're hurting yourself. So again, after they look up and say, well, Dustin, that 546 really isn't affordable, then that's when we give the range. Well, it sounds like to me, first, I need to identify, right? So it sounds like to me when you do a project like this, something definitely you're going to open an account and pay monthly on. Is that correct? Yeah, it is. Okay. So if you were to make something more affordable monthly, were you talking more like 450, 500? What were you talking about? Or, not that much, probably like 300. Okay. So if I hear you correctly, I think I did the biggest and only reason we can't get your project started is the fact that we need to be closer to that $300. Is that correct? Yeah. Is that it? Nothing else? Cool. Let me see what I can do for you real quick. Okay. I'm going to grab the iPad, turn it back around at me. That's when I'm going to ask about the deposits. Let me ask you, how much did you set aside for a project like this? You did say earlier you're thinking about doing it for X amount of years. So then basically, how much did you set aside? At that point, we'd enter our X amount of years inside of the deposit, which is going to help us get down to the payment that we need to get to. Then literally, you need to look down and figure out where we're going to go, right? So before I open my mouth about cost savings program, I'm going to already hit the dial for the cost savings program and have it in there. And then I'm going to flip to the right to see on my 84 or 120 month payment what exactly I can get to get that thing more comfortable. And what I want to do is my next showing, I don't want to be playing games. I want to go right for the kill right through there. I want to make sure that we get the yes right through there if I'm going to get it. So yeah, they told me 300 and I come in at 120 months. And basically they put $2,000 down, 120 months. So say the 23 turns into 21. And now I know if I've got $1,000 down payment or deposit on that, I know basically my payment's going to be around $200 a month. So I can either start 120 months and explain basically the difference, or I can start at 84 and I might be a little higher than what the payment they want to be, or I might be right at it. So again, depending on what customer you're with and what you feel like their comfort level might be, that's where I would start it. If it were, depending on the house, if it were somebody that were struggling that tells you 300 is their cap, if I come in at 200, I'm probably going to be a hero and then tell them that they can always add on to that payment to meet up to basically to get closer to that 300 that they're going to pay it off anyways. Because the cool thing, Matt, is our 120 month and our 84 month and 60 month all are the same interest rate, right? A lot of times in the industry, if they went down to their bank and the longer they extend the loan, basically it might raise that interest rate. Because again, the risk goes up, that the longer they pay on it, the basically worse chances that something bad could happen. So again, one of the cool things about us where it's a fixed rate, it doesn't matter if they do it for 60, 84, 120, we're not raising the rate on them. So one of the things we do, Matt, is earlier we shared with you our cost savings program, right? Now is time and efficiency. And you said it was all about the money and nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that with your permission. Can I do that for you? Yes. Okay, cool. So this is going to save you a total of 10% off the project. Okay, which is taking your total savings down to basically now $10,436. So it's taking your overall investment to $21,434. It is open an account. The cool thing we did is we extended it out to 120 months. And then there's no penalty for early payoff, and you only pay as much as you use onto it anyways. That's going to take your overall payment down to about $208 a month. Let me ask you, I know you wanted 300. And we could go ahead and lessen the term up if you'd like to see that. But I'm sure if you needed 300, you're comfortable with 208. Can I welcome you to DreamStar Modeling? Then put your hand out. Then basically from that point, hopefully they say yes, or they say, let me see what it is if we reduce the term. So you reduce it to 84 or whatever else you might want to do it. But generally, if you come in underneath their payment for most people, Matt, then you're going to be there. Now, if they're cash buyers, they tell you they're cash buyers, that's something different, but we're focused on selling the payment. If you focus just on the payment right now and nothing else, let that be your focus. Getting good on the cash side of it, I'll work with you on that, but let's focus on one thing, and that's selling that payment. That payment is the key to you basically being successful or not. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So again, focus on selling that payment, nothing else. Once they tell you they can't, like say they say, well, what if we paid cash? Well, let me ask you, at 21,436, are you in a position where you could pay cash for that? That's my favorite line. I call it the truth serum. Or do you think it would be smart that you pay cash to the line at basically that amount? Especially when we can open an account for you at 60 months, 84, 120, right? So as we just talked about. Is that helpful?
Extremely, extremely. Thank you.
So when you come in and work on things, that's what you should probably work on, is making sure you get fluent with that. Remember, an amateur practices get it right, a professional practice, they can't get it wrong. The more you roll through that stuff, the better off you're going to be. Because if we let ourselves basically get wrapped around, get our head wrapped around basically the price itself, the price is irrelevant, Matt. I've been doing this for so many years. And at the end of the day, if everyone was paying cash, price would be more relevant. But it's not. It's never going to be in our industry ever when you sell a high price item. If you're out slinging $189 windows for like the cheap company and going broke, making $7 a window, then price would be what they pay, because your company wouldn't need financing or wouldn't barely offer financing because you wouldn't need it. Or you would need it, but your lower end company basically is going to have high bank rejects anyways. The cool thing about us is we are the higher ticket, which means a higher price tag for you when you go ahead and get paid at the end of every transaction. The other thing is too, you can have confidence that we're going to take care of them, right? Obviously, we just won the same day goes best. So we got to make sure that, we represent that. And again, part of your job, Matt, is making sure that at the end of it, you make it easy to buy from you, not hard.
Right.
So my biggest advice is give to get, right? Give to get. Don't give to give. If you do that, you're getting nothing in return. It's like you've got a stereo system I want. And I know basically I want your stereo system. I know you're getting a brand new one. So I walk over and I give you, you need some pots and pans. So I've got some old pots and pans. So I go give you the pots and pans thinking that you're going to give that to me in return. Unless I set that negotiation up before I gave you the pots and pans, what's your obligation to give me the speakers?
None.
So again, unless I set that up in the beginning, that I'm giving to give, I'm not giving to get. Even though I think you should give it to me because I felt like I did a good job and I did a good deed, I'm not getting it in return unless I'm basically setting it up that way. That make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to set the expectation up that they're going to do it, or at least give you the yes or no before you deliver.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Can I ask you another question? It's a pivot, whole different subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know like we don't try and sell vinyl, and I know, we try, for the reflash. But in the instance where somebody, has their mind set on vinyl and they want to do a retrofit, what is the selling point against another company? Like, do we have one there?
Well, paid attention to the presentation, right?
Yeah.
96% of all contractors what?
Go out of business.
Within how long?
Within 2 years.
So it's not a matter of if they're going to be around a certain shoe, it's a matter of when they're going to go out of business, right?
Yep.
So secondly, what's the difference between not using subcontractors and subcontractors?
Accountability.
More responsibility, right? So again, you can't tell a subcontractor what time to show up to work. Number two, basically, they go out and buy their own silicones, their own basically foam insulation, everything that they might use on side of a job. They're responsible for going out and buying it. So let me give you this analogy, man. If you right now were an installer and you worked for 3 different companies in town, and you were going to get paid $150 to go install 3 retrofit windows on a second story, and out of that $150, you had to go out and buy your silicone, and you had to buy your foam insulation, and you had to buy, or whatever insulation you're going to use, and you had to basically buy your fasteners, and you had to pay one of your helpers to install that day, right?
Yep.
So if I paid one of my installers, and I took 60% of that money home. Let's say I got $150 here that I'm making, right? And I take 60% of that home. That means I'm making $90 if I didn't have to pay for any materials. Now, basically, if my other guy, if I did that, is making, what, $60 if we had to pay for no materials. But that can't be the case because, you know, generally a tube of silicone like that runs a couple of different ways, right? So in the industry, what happens a lot of times when people hire subcontractors is they buy the cheapest silicone they can get their hands on, right? Say you had to buy diapers tonight, or you had to take your dog to the vet again, right? So I had to buy, let's say I had to buy diapers, I had to put food on my family's table, and this was one of the only jobs I'm running this week. So if I had $150 and I got to pay my guy $60, I'm making $90. I want to profit as much of that as I can and put it back in my pocket, right?
Yep.
So there's a major difference in a $3 tube of silicone and a basically $15 tube of silicone. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. One is what they call acid cured, which is like what they put around the bathtubs, right? If you put basically that silicone around the bathtub, what do you generally have to do the next year or two again?
Do it again?
Do you know why they do? Do you know why they sell it so cheap?
No. Oh,
Because,
so you'll buy it more.
Exactly right. They want you supply and demand. They want you to keep buying it more because it's cheap. And if you don't realize the difference between the oxygenated and basically the acid cured, right? Secondly, you ever seen that foam stuff? There's the great stuff. It like you spray it and it just keeps expanding out.
Yeah.
So that stuff is also could be a place they do it different, or bags of insulation. You could take a bag of insulation, might cost $15 for a whole bag that you could get almost 15, 20 windows worth of insulation out of. Or basically you buy one can, which a can of foam that might last basically for 2 to 3 windows is probably going to cost another $20. Let's just say, for instance, right, if I got $150, let's take what they're getting paid out of that. Let's say I go buy a $20 can of foam. Let's say I basically buy a $14 tube of silicone. And by the way, I would need, if I'm installing 3 windows, I need a minimum of 2, 4, 6 different tubes. So if I've got basically $17 times 6, that's $102 in just silicone if I buy the correct silicone. Plus basically my $20 tube of silicone, that's $122 in materials. So how much would be left over to split between me and my helper?
None.
I'd have like I'd have $28 to spend, right? So what happens is a lot of these guys, if they're trying to do it, if you were going to go feed your family, would you buy the $3 tube of silicone or the $17 tube?
You're going to buy the $3.
Why?
So make the most money.
You made the most money, right? So instead of basically buying you're going to pay $20 a can of foam, or you're going to go buy something you can keep stocked on your truck that you can just stuff in around the window and not have to worry about it, or maybe not insulate it at all.
Right.
So again, unfortunately, it's not the contractor's fault. It's the company that's setting them up wrong. And a lot of these guys, Matt, are ran just like guys like me that feel like they can go out and run their own business. And unfortunately, when they're trying to run their own business, they don't understand what it takes to be successful long term, which is why 96% of them fail. And, you know, people take, 20% or basically 80% of people that take the cheapest bid have big problems getting it completed. And not to mention, think about the service after the sale, right? Because again, you see on the news all day long where people complain about contractors or rip-off reports and things of that nature. It's obviously the less money you pay, what happens to your risk?
Goes up.
So fortunately for you, we have all W-2 employees that install our product. Not to mention, we supply all the materials that are available for them. So that way we don't expect them to go out to Home Depot, number one, and waste your time out there before they come to your house and they show up 2 hours late. We supply all that materials for them so we can control the quality of installation that's happening on that. Not to mention, they're all Installation Master certified, meaning that they've installed them in 2,000 windows, 500 doors over the course of their lifetime before they even are allowed to work for us. And not to mention the ongoing training we give them personally in-house is one that you never have to worry about. Let me ask you, Matt, when's the last time you bought something that you never had to replace again?
I can't think of anything.
So again, when you look at something like this, there's obviously going to be a cost difference, not to mention the quality of the product itself. And you go back and take the quality of the product back to what they need on their house and then go from there.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Thank you.
So again, doubt and fear, remember, there's 8 11 receptors in the brain. 8 are based on fear, 3 are based off gain. If it's just about how pretty it is and how much better, you are than the next person, that's when you start hearing things, but Matt, I don't need the Mercedes or the Cadillac or the BMW or the Bentley of windows. I just need something to get me by because this house isn't worth that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else got anything before we jump off here? Got 4 minutes. Hudson?
Nothing else for me.
Do you have any takeaways today, my man?
Well, again, just reminders of things that I keep trying to work on that I realize that I'm not doing well enough, and that is getting them to agree to some of the commitments more firmly. I'm letting them off when they kind of agree and stuff and qualify it and stuff, and just I need to dig harder to get them to agree or not.
Exactly right. Our goal, again, is to get a yes or a no, or if there's a condition where we can't do it, it's a date and time for follow-up. If you don't have one of those 3 at the end of it, you've been niced out of the house. And being niced out of the house is something in a condition, by the way, is they're refinancing their house. I don't really even know. It's a one party where they refuse to make a decision, so really there's not that many things that cause you after the call center sets it up not to be able to get a yes or a no. Because remember, when you leave, so does all the reasons they bought. Because again, tomorrow morning when they wake up, just think about something if you didn't do it for a living, right? Say you knew nothing about technology at all. And you walked in and somebody was teaching you about technology and you didn't have a notepad in front of you writing down everything that they said or have it DVR'd or recorded, right? And then basically you went the next morning and you tried to make the same decision just after listening to somebody talk for 20 minutes. And then you went and listened to somebody else talk for 20 minutes and somebody else talk for 20 minutes. And you knew nothing about that subject matter. How well would you do? How well could you make a decision on that? Or would it then become about a name and a price? And the bad thing about our industry, the worst thing you can do is try to make an educated and logical decision off of a name and a price. It's impossible. So that's why they tell you by Better Business Bureau, Small Business Administration, tell you the best time to make an educated and logic decisions when all the facts are in front of you. So with that said, guys, I'm going to wrap up and end, but appreciate you guys. Now let's, again, practice to get it right. There's 3 things we can control, right? Can't control a condition, can't control an environment, but you can control yours. We talk about it. Is it a training issue? Is it a capability issue? Or is it a focus issue? Those are the only 3 things. Training issue, a capability issue means you just can't get it done, or is it a focus issue? What you focus your mind on becomes your reality. What you focus your mind on becomes your reality. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.